अमर है राम भरत का प्यार। भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Together we chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, verses 11 to 20.
अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यतात्मवान्। श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानाध्यानं विशिष्यते। ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः त्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम्। अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः करुण एव च। निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः समदुःखसुखक्षमी। सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः। मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः। यस्मान्नो द्विजते लोकः लोकान्नो द्विजते च यः। हर्षामर्षभयोद्वेगैः मुक्तो यः स च मे प्रियः। अनपेक्षः शुचिर्दक्षः उदासीनो गतव्यथः। सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः। यो न हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि न शोचति न काङ्क्षति। शुभाशुभपरित्यागी भक्तिमान्यः स मे प्रियः। समशत्रौ च मित्रे च तथा मानापमानयोः। शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु समः सङ्गविवर्जितः। तुल्यनिन्दास्तुतिर्मौनी सन्तुष्टो येन केनचित्। अनिकेतस्थिरमतिः भक्तिमान् मे प्रियो नरः। ये तु धर्म्यामृतमिदम् यथोक्तं पर्युपासते। श्रद्दधाना मत्परमाः भक्ता भक्तास्तेऽतीव मे प्रियाः
First class after this whole month on the Bhagavad Gita. Any questions on what we have studied so far? Anyone is new to the class today? All same name. Bhavna, are you new? Okay. So, Bhavna, is this your first class of the Bhagavad Gita, or you have been studying it before?
Ma'am, I attended few of the classes in Rishihood with you maybe.
Oh, you're that Bhavna. Oh, okay. Welcome, Bhavna. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
all those who came to Rishihood, you have all met Bhavna. All right, so we are doing currently, you've come at a very nice time, Bhavna, because we are doing this wonderful portion of the Gita known as the 35 qualities of a bhakta. So there's iPhone. Who is iPhone, please? Are you new or are you old? Old means not
Sorry,
old.
I'll change my name, Janki, Rajneesh.
No, Rajneesh, you are showing as Rajneesh. There's another iPhone. Yeah, so I suppose when it's showing iPhone, the person also sometimes doesn't know that it's showing like that. Okay, so we're doing this great portion, 35 qualities of a bhakta. You remember what he's had done so far. He's spoken about form and formless worship. He's explained to us what each one is for, how that whole system works. Then he went on to the sadhana, what all we have to do as the sadhana. And he told us, okay, we can't do any part of it, at least learn to give up fruit. Now, this advice is for the whole sadhana, right? From day one to the last day, that advice is going to hold good. Because we have to focus on what we need to do as opposed to anything else. Because why? For the simple reason that what we do is up to us, and when the result will come is not really up to us. So what is the point? What is the waste of time thinking about that thing? So if I want to study a subject, then let me study the subject. Now, when the result will come out of that study, that is not entirely in my hands. What can I do? Leave that to God. But my job is to do my job. My job should be done perfectly. I haven't to leave a single stone unturned. Everything that I could possibly think of doing, I have done. If I can't think of anything more, I have asked for advice. What else can I do? I have done that also. I've done every bit of it. Now, when the result comes, that's not my problem. Absolutely not my problem, because I know I have done all that is required to have this result there. So it's just a question of time before it will come. Excuse me. So he's told us all this, right? So the sadhana is right from the beginning to the end, learn to give up fruit. I mean, he's given all the sadhana, but if all of it is too complicated, then at least learn to give up fruit, because that holds true always. Then he said, how do you know whether your sadhana is going well or not? And that's why he comes to these 35 qualities. And he says, those who have these 35 qualities, those are the people dear to me. And that is why Omkar says, you love God, but does God love you? So here he's saying, how does God love you? Means, how does God love you means he doesn't specially love people who are good and hates people who are bad. No such thing. God loves you means, how close are you? Love is nothing but identification. The closer it is, the more identification. So the closer we are to self-realization, the more you can say God loves you or you love God, same thing. There's no difference in this because it means an identification with the ultimate truth. So in verse 13, he starts the 35 qualities. The first quality of a bhakta is adveshta sarva bhutanam. Advesha, no dvesha, sarva bhutanam, towards all beings. That means a feeling of oneness with everybody. Not with some people, but everybody. So how do you know your sadhana is being done correctly? That you have that feeling of identification with everybody. Nobody is outside. You know, I am Nija. This person is mine. I am Nija. Param Veti. Ganana Laghu Chetas. This Ganana, this counting. Aham. I am Nija. This person is dear to me. Param Veti. I know him as a different person. He's a different person. I mean, he's not in my gang. Ganana Laghu Chetasam. Laghu Chetasam, small intellect. People with small intellect think like this. Uddara Chittanam. For those, Uddara Chitta means, what is the translation of Uddara Chitta? Those with generosity of character. Those who are people worth being called humans. Uddara Chittanam. Large-hearted or large intellect, whatever you want to call it. Uddara Chittanam Vasudeva Kutumbakam. The world is my family. Please remember this verse comes in Panchatantra. This is what is taught to children. That the whole world is my family. This is not a Vedantic concept. I hope you realize that. What is the difference between the Vedantic concept and this one?
This one is the whole world is my family, and the Vedantic concept is the whole world is me.
Very good. The whole world is me, not my family. Even with my family, there's some difference. No, the whole world is me. So there's a complete identification. So the children in our country were taught these verses first. Now this verse is used to teach the whole world. So you can imagine what is the deterioration that has taken place. What should have been entry level has now become the greatest thought. So this capacity of identification with everybody, you just don't draw a line. That capacity is your first criteria of whether your sadhana is working or not. Are you seeing this growth in identification? If you cannot love everybody, please remember that you cannot love anybody. Because the moment you make it specific to somebody, it becomes not love, but attachment. That means that you love that person because of what you're getting from that person, not because you love that person. Love has to be constant, regardless of what's going on. So, Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam Maitra. Maitra means friendly. Friendly doesn't mean now you have to go and catch hold of Dawood Ibrahim and become friends with him. That's not what it's referring to. What it means is that you have a general goodwill towards people. You can see something is not correct, you can see it. But there is no reason to hate the person because you hate the fault. You know what the novelists say? What? Hate the crime, not the criminal. Hate the sin, not the sinner. So why should we hate a person? Don't forget always that whatever mistakes this person is committing, we have committed those same mistakes. Maybe we still are committing those same mistakes. So why have I got resistance in my mind? That's what Christ also said. What did Christ say? Elsie, what did Christ say?
Yes, Janki, for a moment I slipped because I was writing.
Okay. What did he?
I said regarding what?
What did Christ say about this?
They know not what they are doing. Forgive them.
Yeah, that one, of course. He said, resist not evil. There should be no internal resistance to evil. Why is there eternal resistance? This whole concept of, I don't like you because you are behaving so badly, is a nonsense concept. So you are friendly. Friendly means, you know how your friends are, right? When you were in college and you had friends and you were doing all sorts of nakra over there, what were your friends doing? When you wanted to bunk college, what did your friends do? Did they go and tell the teacher, Vipra didn't attend today? What did your friends do? They gave attendance for you, right? Every time you wanted to go somewhere, your parents didn't want you to go. What did they do? Your parent will call and say, is Deepraj with you? You say, yes, he's with me. They're, okay, bring him on the line. No, I'm just gone to the bathroom. That's what friends do for each other, right? They stand up for each other. They back each other. I mean, they may hit each other other times, but in front of others, they'll always take care of their friends. So Maitra, that you're more, what should I say, being backup for other people's faults rather than running them down because suppose your wife is bad at finances. So instead of saying you're so bad at finances, you're so bad at finances, just handle them yourself. Be the backup for other people's issues. So you say, many wives do that actually. They do that quite quietly. All that thing these wives did, they thought their husbands are spending too much and things, and they keep squirreling some money here, some money there. All of that came out, as you all know, during this demonetization. All the men found out how much. Joyce, you know about this? Oh, thank God. Okay. Joyce, there was demonetization, major thing. Our prime minister every once in a while gets up and says, brothers and sisters, and then we all start shivering. So last one of the times when he did that, he declared that the currency notes are just declared null and void. Okay, all the 2,000 rupee, no, 1,000, what was it? 1,000 rupee notes were all declared null and void. Suddenly, like the whole country, 1.4 billion of us, suddenly were in possession of notes that was not worth the paper it was printed on. So he did this for good reasons. He was trying to achieve some ends, but the thing is, what these women were doing is they were taking money from their husbands and saving it, for a rainy day and all, because they didn't trust their husbands will have money for a rainy day. So they have saved themselves. And suddenly when it was demonetization, all of that became useless. No? So they had to take it to their husbands and say, okay, now get this change for the real notes for me. That's how all the men in the country found out how good their wives are with finances. Okay, so why did that wife do it? She's just the backup. She knows her husband may be a businessman or something. He may put more money into the business than he should have, something you do. So she's the backup. She's kept the money ready. Many women do that. And so naturally in the family also, we do that, right? So somebody is good at booking tickets. So he's in charge of booking tickets. Somebody is in charge of, cooking. So that person's in charge of cooking. Somebody is in charge of banking. Like that in the family, we do that. Naturally, we do it. We don't go to a person who's not good at something and say, you're not so good, you're not so good, you're not so good. I think whatever they're good at, let them do. No. So Maitra means our capacity to take these things in our stride. You're being friendly. It's not like you're looking to pounce on people. Otherwise, we're looking to pounce on. So, not desiring ill will, no ill will for anyone, Not only no ill will for anyone, a friendliness towards everyone. Compassion. When you're friendly towards everyone, you would like to help people, but you can't help everyone. That gap you filled with compassion. Because how can you do so much, right? Like when you're teaching the kids in Syria, there's only so much you can do. After some point, you can't do anymore. So for those who you are not able to help, for whatever reason, at least we can feel compassion for them. Now, compassion should be distinguished from weak pity. Weak pity is when you pity people, you look down on people, you feel hi bichara towards them. This does not help you and it does not help the other person. When you have to be strict, you have to be strict. When you have to say no, you have to say no. Because when you don't do these things, you're not helping the other person. You're handicapping the other person. Is there a word like handicapping? You're making the other person handicapped. You're pulling them down. So love doesn't mean, or compassion doesn't mean that you are weak and everybody around you is weak, because they can't live only with strict action. You have to take strict action as and when necessary. It's not, compassion is not weak pity. Free from attachment. Free from attachment means free from mindness. You know, why he needs to say this is because you say, yes, I love everybody. Meaning my family, my friends, I love them all. No, it doesn't mean love like that. It doesn't mean a preferential attachment. It really means the same feeling that you have for your family, that you have for your friends, you have for everyone. So free from attachment. We don't understand this whole concept of being possessive, because you have to learn to not be possessive. No, then only you understand what is possessive. Momita, how do we differentiate between enabling and handicapping a friend? What can I say, Momita? Only, where are you? Are you there? I can't see you. Oh, there you are. Okay. Only your intellect can tell, right? You have to develop discrimination. At least you should, even if you take the first step wrong, after some time you should know that I took this step wrong. No? So that you don't at least repeat it. But there has to be, your own discrimination will have to tell you, this time do I forgive? I mean, forgive in the sense, do I, what do they say in Hindi? Chadar dal. No, what is it? Something like that there is. No? Some language in India, there is it, like maybe Marathi, where uske upar chadar dal. Like you have to, hide, cover up their faults. And there are some times where you can't. Sometimes you have to, chalo yaar, theek hai. Like at the course, na, some of these naughty kids were doing naughty things, but we said, chalo, theek hai, koi baat nahi. But some of the naughty kids were doing too much naughtiness. So then we had to tell them, no way. So your own discrimination had to tell you where you draw that line. It all depends on the situation, on the person, on the capacity of the person, on your own capacity, millions of things. Sorry, did I not answer your question at all?
No, that was 8 points. Yeah.
That's the right answer, but sometimes people will say, but that doesn't help me.
No, it helps.
Joyce, sometimes being compassionate to others and acting upon this leads others to take advantage of us. Is this the moment we say no? Where do we draw the line? Yeah, we have to decide. We have to decide. is the person taking advantage of me or am I being selfish? This is a call you have to take. But even if I'm being selfish, but it is beyond my capacity to do whatever you're asking me, then I have to say, sorry, I won't do this. One good way of sort of making that distinction, it's not philosophically good, but practically good, is to check within yourself, why are you doing this action? Are you doing it because of your incapacity to say no? Or are you doing it because you genuinely believe it will help the other person? So that kind of, just taking cognizance of that gives us some idea of whether we're on the right track or not. Why am I agreeing to you because I can't say no? Why can't I say no? What's the problem here? So, I mean, it's not a philosophically, what should I say, watertight kind of answer, but practically could be useful. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Makes
Momita. Momita, you had something?
No, I was just saying that sometimes spending some time thinking over it instead of taking a quick this action helps.
Yes.
Sleeping over it. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Except that it all depends. I mean, that's why these answers are not philosophically tight. So it all depends. Suppose there was a lovely book. I'm trying to remember what was the name of the book. It was a Jane Austen book, I think. And there was Jane Austen. So there was this brother and sister. The sister was poverty stricken. The brother was a rich guy. Okay, the brother was affectionate towards his sister somewhat, and the wife was totally against this whole thing. Okay, so the mother passed away and left the daughter like helpless and nothing, something. I mean, for whatever reason, now she's reduced to poverty. So she writes to her brother receives it, and that is the portion, is the only portion of the book I remember. She writes that story, she writes to him and he receives the letter. And he's a very well-to-do person, he has done well. And that letter communicates to him the problem she's in. Then he reads the letter, he feels very bad. He says, I should settle 10,000 pounds on my sister. So that her life, of course, centuries ago. So 10,000 pounds I will settle on her. And so she can run her life properly. Then as he's changing and going to bed, he's saying, why does she actually need 10,000 pounds? I think she'll manage with 5,000 pounds. And then he's lying in bed and he's saying, all this is sounding too much. Or maybe 1,000 pounds should be enough. After all, she doesn't have to go to any parties or anything. It just has to manage to live her life. And that she has a house. So she doesn't really need that much. 1,000 pounds, I think, should suffice for her. And then finally he sends her like a 5-pound note or a 10-pound note or something like that. So, sometimes, not always, sometimes our good intentions get run over by the mind selfishness. So we have to be watchful about that as well. Because, you keep starting with, I'll do this, that, and then it comes on. Not because you can't do it, but because selfishness has taken over. So that's why sometimes they just say, if you have a good thought, execute it. Step 1, if you have a good thought, just execute it immediately. Never mind good, bad, and what and all that. Forget about it. Just execute. But once your mind has learned to enjoy goodness, has learned to enjoy unselfishness, that is the time where you have to start thinking about it. Okay?
Yes.
Then, free from egoism. You remember what are the 3 points of egoism? You all must be knowing. I'm only summarizing so that we can start the next verse. So you've studied all this, I think, quite a lot in detail, I'm sure. Alokji must have explained this whole thing in detail, right? Nobody's nodding, nobody's saying anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what are the 3 points in egoism?
I am supreme. I only exist. I am the doer.
Very good. Everybody's familiar with these? 3 ways our ego expresses. I am the doer. Everything that happened because of me. Look at how great I am. I am supreme is the second one. My wishes are important. My opinions are important. My interests are important. My life is important. I am important. I am important. I am supreme. Everything has to float around me. And I alone exist. I alone exist means at least supreme, so I'm making some kind of comparison between you and me. I alone exist means I'm not taking cognizance of your existence only. You see, when people behave like that, na? You're at the dining table, you're trying to help yourself to something, somebody will come, just take whatever they want and go away. They haven't even noticed that you are there, they have pushed you out of the way, nothing. That is, I alone exist. So this is how our egoism functions. These things are very difficult to spot in ourselves. But that's our job, spotting them. Balanced in pain and pleasure. We lose our balance in pain and pleasure because we have not understood a fundamental fact about life, which is that life is nothing but a procession of pain and pleasure. It will never happen in anybody's life that it's only pleasure and no pain. It also does not happen to anyone that it's all pain and no pleasure. Events keep going on. The reason these events overpower us is because we identify with them. Our whole focus is on that event. Instead of keeping our focus on some larger picture, our focus goes on that event. And when we are with the event, it's like you're seeing the waves so much, you forgot there's an ocean over there. So with the waves, you go up, with the waves, you come down, with the waves, you go up, with the waves, you come down. What about the ocean lying there? The ocean is still, absolutely still. If you go into the ocean, like you go down into the ocean, I'm sure that's the best spot to meditate. It must be, no? So quiet down there. But there is nothing happening. I'm quiet. And yet on the surface, the waves are going 20 feet high, and this and that. So much is going on. When you identify with something deeper, vaster, bigger, you identify with the self, you identify with the higher cause, you're defocused from this up and down, good and bad. Sometimes health is good, sometimes health is bad, sometimes feelings are good, sometimes feelings are bad, sometimes knowledge is predominant, sometimes ignorance is predominant. Balanced in pain and pleasure does not mean that you don't feel the pain and pleasure. It means that you can see beyond it to something greater, vaster, nobler. You're able to, in the ultimate sense, of course, to identify with the stillness within, with the self within. Thank you, Bharat. All the time, that will go on. That's life, no? Imagine it didn't go on. What will happen if this was not there in your life? What would it be?
Boring.
Dead.
Dead. To begin with, you'll be dead. Even your heart goes like this, na? When that line becomes straight, means Gaya kaam se, abhi now relax. No further jobs for you to do. So it has to go up and down, up and down. That is life. But when you recognize that this is it, this is the way it is, you're okay with it because you know that's the way it is. Forgiving. Forgiving means you recognize that there are different types of beings in this world. And the reason that this world is so interesting is because there are different types of beings in this world. Otherwise, what is the interest? Boring, right? Can you imagine if all of us were exactly the same? Like Parle glucose biscuits, each one exactly the same. And I had to look at all one Parle. Jay is one Parle biscuit, and then I am another one, and then Deepraj is another one, Joyce is another one, and Elsie is another Parle glucose. I don't like it, no? So boring. Now see, so interesting. Somebody has a green curtain, somebody has a red curtain, somebody has some pictures, somebody has some cream curtain, somebody has no curtain. All sorts of different things are there. And that's the interesting thing. That's why we tell everybody, put on your video. Otherwise, all these black things I have to keep looking at. Oh, look who's here. Aditi, welcome back. After a long time, I'm seeing you. Prakash. No, Bhavna. Without these flows, there would be no feeling of liveliness. Correct, Bhavna. Prakash, is it not morally wrong when friends back for bunking the class? Act encourages student to repeat it. Prakash, I can tell your age has to be above 50, otherwise you would not be saying this. I don't know what that age is. I don't say from here, say from there, when you were that age. That time though it was all my good friends, you're such a good friend and you're not giving attendance for me, you're fighting with the friend. Then as soon as you have children and you want them to go to class, then suddenly all this becomes bad stuff. So it's not morally wrong. They're all children. There's no question of morality really, because they're too kiddish to bring in such big concepts like morality. I am 72. Okay. Yeah, so you have to remember 12 years, 52 years ago, how you felt about exactly this thing. So, yeah, it is wrong, but they're such children now. What wrong and what right are you going to say to them? So, but yes, it's correct. They shouldn't be doing all this. And if you are a teacher or a thing, you have to not allow them to do it. That's your job. But the kids will do it, and occasionally you also, chalo yaar, koi baat nahi. Abhi nahi karenge, to kab karenge? Forgiving. Each one helplessly functions according to his own nature. And what's wrong with that? It's good, right? Everybody is themselves. And that's the beauty of it. The thing to realize is that human beings have made a lot of progress compared to the animals. Okay, now no animal has come to our class, right? They don't have access to Zoom. Only we have access to Zoom. So they don't have all these advantages that we have. Now, so why have we made so much progress? I think you could easily argue because we are capable of differences. Isn't it? See, all the tigers will think in exactly the same way. All the lions will think in exactly the same. All the monkeys also think in exactly the same way. All the buffaloes think in definitely the same way. But we all think differently. And we also know how to communicate what we think to others. When it's different and we can communicate, that's how new ideas come. That's how something flourishes. Suppose we all stay exactly the same. See, all those tribes that no other human being went to that place. say in Nicobar or somewhere. You're not even allowed to go there. It's illegal for us to go there. All the tribe or some African jungle or some place, and not allowed to go. No other human being is allowed to go there. What happens there? Those people become just the same. They've been just the same. For the last millennia, they've been the same. But where there's all this interaction going on, so many things move and change, and that's how all the big cities work, right? Somebody comes up with something, they fight over it, third thing comes up. All the differences may well be the cause of our growth. Not only different, but we can communicate our differences with one another and maybe figure it out eventually. So the quality of forgiveness is not thinking that you're wrong and I'm so great, I'm going to forgive you, but recognizing that every being is different. And that's fine. We don't all have to be the same. It's great to be different. Which is that lovely poem we have done, remember, that you with music and I with lights might beautify the night. That brother should not worry his brother and devour each other. But that's
Nightingale and Globum.
yes. Okay, you know it?
No, sorry. I can put it up in the chat in a bit.
Oh, okay, no, it's okay. The concept, that brother should not war with brother and worry and devour each other. For it was the self-same light divine that taught you to sing and me to shine. You will sing, I will shine, sing maybe devotion, shine maybe intellect. You have music, I have knowledge. Let us put all this together and make this world a better place. In fact, it will become a better place. So forgiveness is just the simple quality of understanding a simple fact of life, that every being functions according to his nature. And just as you function according to your nature, so does everybody else. You remember that story of the sage and the scorpion, right? Remember, everybody is familiar, sage and the scorpion? Yes?
Yes.
No? Yes? Okay. But why are you that?
Yes, Shanti.
So this man is saying, why are you picking up that scorpion if it's always stinging? So he said, that's his nature. Okay, that's his nature, but why are you picking it up? Because that's my nature. Each one is a helpless victim of whatever they are. You cannot be any different, and they cannot be any different. Helpless victims. So forgiveness is the recognition that
Each being will function according to his nature.
each being functions according to its nature. Helplessly functions. Now suppose we tell Bhavna, Bhavna, let us hear you shout. And she'll say, what? I don't know how to shout. And she'll speak so softly, so delicately. And she doesn't know how to shout. Now we find somebody else. We tell Bharat, Bharat, pick up one piece of paper. He said, what? Pick up one piece of paper? Ask me to pick up 200 kgs, I can understand. One piece of paper. You see, each one is helplessly what they are, right? They can't be anything else. Suppose you tell Bharat that you should not be lifting weights. He is incapable of not lifting weights. You tell Bhavna that you should not be speaking quietly. She is incapable of that. You tell Deepraj, no more mathematics for you. He's incapable of that. Each one is what they are. What are you talking about? 9. How do we know if we are forgiving from a place of weakness inability to stand up for yourself versus forgiving from a place of strength. How do we know? By how you're feeling. Are you feeling helpless? Are you feeling like I don't know what to do about you? Or are you feeling, ye to aisa hi hai? Are you finding the whole thing funny because you know this person is like this? Or are you feeling frustrated and helpless? So if you're feeling weak, you're doing it from a place of weakness. If you're feeling, you're feeling, finding it quite funny actually, that's from a place of strength. Like, you know how people behave, you've understood this. And it's for everybody universally, it's not for one person. You understand this person is like this person is like this person is like that. Okay? I mean, it's not philosophical tests, just practical hints.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, so verse 14. All good, right? Now let's go to verse 14. Santushta sadatam yogi yatatma trudha nishchayaha mayyarpitamano buddhihi yo madbhakta same priyaha tat santushta sadatam yogi yatatma trudha nishchayaha mayyarpitamano buddhihi yo madbhakta same priyaha. Santushta sadatam yogi. What a wonderful thing is that. Santushta means, tushta means content. Santushta means always content, always perfectly content. Just happy with whatever's going on. Nothing with it. The students are not studying, you're happy, okay with it. The students are studying, you're happy with it. Either way, it's okay with you. It's almost like no skin off my back. It's not that you're being indifferent, but you've done all you can. That's that. What else is there to do? So as long as our attention is on the materiality of it all, there is no way we will find satisfaction. Because the nature of materiality is infinitude. It's its nature. What can anyone do? Right? Suppose you have 5,000 colors of nail polish at home. Can you not buy one more? Will you say, I have 5,000 at home, I don't want another one? Nobody will say that. Suppose I ask you, do you want one more nail polish? You will say, suppose I say, you want 5,000 nail polishes. What will you say? Bhavna, do you want 5,000 nail polishes? No, right? I think you're saying
No, ma'am.
there has to be some trick over here, but I don't think so. Do you want 5,000 bottles of nail polish? No. But suppose I ask you, do you want one bottle of nail polish? Not even one, Bhavna.
No, I don't like nail polish.
Oh dear.
What do I use?
What do you like then? What? I can't hear you.
Book?
Book? Okay. Would you like to have 5,000 books?
5,000 would be so much at present.
Yes, 5,000 would be so much, right? But suppose you already had 4,999 and you saw another very interesting book. You saw Vedanta treatise or you saw Bhagavad Gita. So I've got to have it. So how difficult is it to come to 5,000? Eventually, every one of us, ask anyone in this class, do you want to be Bill Gates? No. Nilanjan, you want to be Bill Gates?
I want to be part of his team someday soon.
Okay. All right. Part of his
Might be, I
team.
know. Just a dream. Yeah.
So Bill Gates, nobody is saying. Naim, you want to be Bill Gates?
No.
No. Anybody will say, no, I don't want to be Bill Gates. Nilanjan says, I'll be part of his team. And they will say, nobody, I don't want to be Bill Gates. But now, suppose you're just like $50,000 short of being Bill Gates. Now what? Now suddenly you want to be.
Yeah, now I would.
Yeah. So at every stage of the proceedings, getting that little bit more seems fine to us. Right? So suppose my income is 50,000 today. And I say I want 60,000. That sounds very reasonable. Right? Suppose it was 60,000. Then 80,000 will sound very reasonable. And like that, you can go on at every stage you feel I can have one. Suppose I ask anyone, do you want a PhD? Okay, somebody in 7th standard, they ask, do you want a PhD? No. Do you want to go to 8th standard? Yes. Do you want a post-graduation? No. But 8th standard, yes. So just because our vision is short, we can't see what will happen over there. But at every stage of the journey, every single stage of the journey, a little bit more is what we want. Whatever we call little bit more. And that's why we are not santusht. Because I want this, just this much. When I was in, if I'm in second, what is this thing called? Second year BA, second year B. My whole life is to get into third year B. My whole life is that. That's all I can think of. So at every stage of the journey, my eyes are on the next thing, whatever it is. And how can I be santusht? So does it therefore mean that I should not go to the next class? Of course not. If I want to be a contented person, my entire focus has to be on doing the right thing. If my focus is on getting the next thing, no contentment. If my focus is on doing the right thing, complete contentment. Up to now, whatever I'm supposed to have done, I've done. I'm content. So simple, no? This happiness which I chased and chased and chased on the next ladder, on the next rung I was to find it. It's never there because every time we take that step, one more rung will be revealed. For every person who's not well, the belief is, if I get well, I'm going to be fine. For every person who has not passed his whatever, what is it? NEET, right? His concept is, if I get das NEET, I'll be all right. For every person who has not received their salary check, okay, some companies, they don't give the salary check in time or whatever. Their belief is, when I get that salary check, I'll be fine. This concept is what keeps us unhappy. But if I change that concept to doing what needs to be done, just doing. That's all I can see. What needs to be done? Instant happens. Instant continues. Do it. And then what do you do? Then you wait. The result will come. It has to come. If you did everything correctly, how can the result not come? So ever perfectly content means that your focus is not on the desire. That's what it means. Your focus rather is on the action. Now, if you do this, you will be largely content. But it's not the full story. That is why it tells you the next thing. Satatam yogi. A constant yogi. A constant yogi means who? A person who's constantly working for a higher cause in life. Not just focusing on my action is good. But if that action is designed for a higher purpose, that's even better. So how did you choose this action? You chose it because you had a wider vision, some higher purpose. So Satatam Yogi. Always uniting with the self. Always uniting with a higher purpose. Always. You don't forget it. You don't forget it in your illnesses. You don't forget it in your problems. You don't forget it in your successes. You don't forget it in your getting busy with work. You're always a yogi. That is always the most important thing in your life. No matter what else is happening. Because that is life, right? Things will happen. How can it not happen? Something's wrong if nothing is happening. So, Satatam Yogi, no matter what happened, your focus of attention never moved from the self. So you may say, how can I do that? I had this major emergency. Somebody was in hospital. They were in ICU. They didn't have blood. I had to run around. How do I keep my focus on the self if a family member is in hospital and all of this is happening? How do you keep your focus? Think about it with an example. Suppose, it's not a very nice example, but that's all. But it's a very telling example. Suppose you're in class. You're very focused. You're listening. Your mind hasn't gone anywhere. But then your bladder starts feeling full. So what will you do? You will ignore it and you will pay attention to the class. Then your bladder is getting fuller and fuller. And it's disturbing. You can't pay attention to the class. Then what will you do? You will have to temporarily leave the class, empty out your bladder and come back, right? Because otherwise there's no way you could have listened. Now, think about what happened in this situation. When the bladder was bothering you, you tried to ignore it. When that call of that was too strong and you could not ignore it anymore, and you had to go do whatever you had to do, when you left the class, your mind was on. When you were there, your mind was on the class. And as you're returning, your mind is on the class. Right? Even though physically it was not possible for you to say, be there. You rushed back. Everything was with that focus, even though for the moment you could not do that thing. That's Satam Yogi. The focus has never shifted. Never shifted. That is the quality of good sadhana. That you just don't get carried away no matter what goes on. And if it was such a terrible thing that you had to get carried away, in the sense you were too busy to be able to do something, still the mind always stayed. And there's a story in the scriptures about this, that there were two friends. One went to the temple, one went to the brothel. And then when they died, the one who went to the temple, he went to hell. And the one who went to the brothel, he went to heaven. So then this was very strange. How did this happen? So the explanation was that the friend who went to the brothel, he was thinking, look at me, I'm such a horrible person. I've come here. My friend has gone to the temple. He must be, I don't know, must be enjoying some bliss beyond our worldly things. And all his mind was there. But the one who went to the temple, he's thinking, oh, look at me, I'm so foolish. I came to the temple, my friend has gone over there. I should have also gone over there. But what to do? I have to come here. He went to hell. So, where is your mind? Not where is your body, but where is your mind? Satatam yogi means your mind is always with realization, with wanting to find the self, with looking for something higher, nobler, greater, vast. So that's it for today. Hari Om.
Hari Om.